Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to an episode of Baka. We are an anime podcast. Every 2 weeks, we watch an anime, we come together to talk about it. We turn the discussion over to our comment section. That's how the show works. This week, we watched a romantic comedy, something definitely outside of our wheelhouse, but we're excited to talk about it. And to do so, I need to introduce my co-host. So first off, we have the grinding to my Monster Hunter, Jeremy. How you doing, man?
Not doing too bad. I'm actually thinking about that game as a possibility for a next purchase, you know. Probably going to be a while, but I've heard such good things about it.
I've heard amazing things about it, yeah.
Especially in this anime. It's like really pushing that game. But yeah, I've been watching a lot of anime in the last 2 weeks. I kind of wanted to catch up before my schedule fills up. And I watched all of Overlord Season 3 and My Hero Academia Season 3?
Yep, those 3.
Yeah, Season 3. And I know we're going to talk about the Overlord one in the minisode, but...
Shameless plug?
Yeah, that's right. Come back for that. But I absolutely loved My Hero Academia Season 3.
So you saw the rematch.
I did see the rematch.
Yeah.
That was a good rematch. That was really good.
Hurry up, Jason.
Sorry.
Oh, anyway, our other guest, our other host, he is the grinding to my yaoi fiction, Jason.
It's a different kind of grinding.
It sounds like more exciting, by the way.
You should know what that is. It was featured prominently in the anime we watched. I figured it was topical.
Okay. Well, let me spoil everything about Smash Brothers for you. Oh, you have that, right? Oh, wait.
Still playing Call of Duty. Leave me alone.
So 7 Days to Die actually came down with a 3 gig patch, like completely revamped the game. So I'm kind of deep into that. Just started into that because I've been grinding. Speaking of grinding the crap out of Path of Exile, and that's been fun. So besides that, since we are recording this before Christmas, I'm finally done hanging lights. And not because I've covered every square inch of my house with lights. It's because I put my foot down and said, I'm done.
Anybody get hurt this time?
Fortunately, no. I bought this really long extension pole, and that prevented me from having to get on the roof, which didn't work because I still had to get up there to change a light because one of them came broken. Lovely. But anyways, Troy, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm going to use my call out. I watched a few things, nothing important. I want to do a call out. We had a guest a few episodes back for the basketball anime.
Mm-hmm. Mark.
Yeah, I know his name. I'm trying to remember the anime.
You remember anyway, your friend, Mark.
You mean Kuroko's?
Yes, Kuroko's basketball. He had the unpleasant job of coming on and having to defend a basketball anime when the genre didn't really sit well with most of the Baka hosts. I went to his wedding yesterday.
He got married.
He got married. I want to give big congratulations to Mark and Gabby. And I got to be best man. It was great.
That is awesome.
Okay, so now let's talk about real important romantic things.
Did you get smashed at the wedding?
Did not.
Real important.
I tried to drink a glass of wine. I made a face. Everyone laughed.
Oh.
I went home sad. Okay, so the anime. How do you pronounce this? It's Wotakoi? Wotakoi?
I thought it was Wotakoi, but I really don't know.
Wotakoi. It's also it in Japanese. They wrote it as like Wotaku, which kind of makes sense off the otaku that it's playing off of. But it's with Wotakoi. How love is hard for otaku. That is the anime that we watched. It was not the easiest one to pronounce, but let's go to our pre-review before the spoilers, so you can know if you want to watch it or not. Jason, you picked it. Weirdly enough, what'd you think?
So I picked it because we had a fan request, and I was actually very hesitant to pick it because on paper it's everything, not just outside my wheelhouse, but outside my interests as far as what I go to for anime. And I'm a little upset at myself because I really, really enjoyed this anime. And it's funny because it's marketed as a romantic comedy, and the romance part took a back seat. Like it was there. It was more about the relationship than it was about the romance of the relationship. And the jokes were great. The otaku cultures, which I didn't realize there were so many different types of otakus. And it was a great learning experience to watch this as well.
Reminds me of the nerd chart where they're like, this is the game.
Right.
This is the book nerd. This is the movie nerd.
And different hierarchies within the book / manga.
Yep.
So yeah, it was, but yeah, the jokes hit just right. The writing was really well done. And, the animation was respectable. I mean, it wasn't any flashy battle anime, but I mean, when they did do the in-game animation, it was pretty cute. I did like, even though everything was chibi and it was kind of grating on me there, it was entertaining to watch.
Okay, Jeremy, how about you?
It was okay. Ultimately, it's a bit forgettable for me, but I did enjoy it in the moment. It was like a sitcom that hit fairly high peaks with some of its good jokes. Every now and then, it really hit a good joke. But yeah, actually, I was having trouble remembering bits and pieces of like what happened in the different episodes. So yeah, ultimately forgettable for me.
Well, remember when they went to the coffee shop and then Ainz came out to fight Deku? Oh wait.
That would be an awesome crossover.
No, I can just imagine in your mind because you were watching so much anime last week. Just like, wait.
That totally did happen too. Yes, I was having a seriously difficult time because I watched Overlord first.
Yeah. I was like, hey, you probably want something to go along with this, for flavor. And you watched all the flavor first.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, then I'll watch this at the end.
I watched the whole thing, this entire series yesterday.
Wow.
And you still have trouble remembering it. So that's
trouble remembering
the full aspect of what he means by that.
Yes.
For me, now I would say that I'm the hopeless romantic of the group. I think that's a little fair. Yeah. So it had a better chance with me, and I did really enjoy it. I multiple times found myself looking at the dialogue and just being super impressed, saying that's something I would say. I'm watching something in another language, and I'm like, that is literally something I have said or would say. This anime isn't about a guy chasing a girl or a girl chasing a guy. It's about after they've gotten together and the complications of figuring that out, which I love. I love looking at the different angles of a relationship when it's not just, oh, I agreed to like you. Okay, well, there's so much more after that,
And I think that's probably why it hit my buttons as well as it did, is because it was less about the awkward, cutesy, immature reactions and more of how do we deal with this relationship now that we've established it.
I do agree with Jeremy a little bit, though, that in a couple weeks, if you come up to me and talk about this anime, I'm going to be like, it was really good because of that moment. Like, there will be one or two moments that are going to stand out, and then the rest are really going to fade. It's not super impressionable.
Yeah.
I'm actually really curious, too, because, Jason, you mentioned that it has relationships, but not so much about the romance, and I didn't really distinguish the two in my mind. So I'm guessing that maybe what you meant was, like, there's not a lot of the soap opera. Oh, he's sweeping her off of her feet, and they're dating and going. Well, not necessarily dating, but like taking her off to restaurants and like not really wooing her.
Yeah, it wasn't. Kind of thing. Yeah, it wasn't the floofery. I'm presenting flowers. I'm trying to get in her pants. I'm like it wasn't. Yeah, it was. It was very. It felt very comfortable. And what I mean by comfortable, like established relationships, right?
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense because I kind of still thought of that as romance, but as like you say, a more mature form of romance. But I can see what you mean by relationships. Yeah, more longer term, more depth to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we need to talk about the opening and the closing, and I just want to start off by saying I think this opening is fire. I've watched the opening more minutes than I've watched the rest of the anime. I watched it today before we recorded this because I love it so much. Okay, but your guys' thoughts too. Yeah, what do you think?
The first time I watched it, I was like, oh, this is kind of cruddy. And then the second time I watched it, I was like, it's kind of forgettable. And by like the fourth time I watched it, I'm like, why am I still watching this? And then I'm like, this is awesome. Like, something about it is really catchy. The music is great, and the animations just it again. It didn't feel like I was going into a romantic comedy. It felt like I was turning on another season of my one of my favorite sitcoms.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It seemed like they did a really good job with the intro to get you all pumped and in the mood for something energetic and funny and happy. Thoroughly enjoyed the intro. The outro I was a little bit bored with, but it was kind of meant to bring you back down off of it and let you go, and it did its job.
I actually liked the outro as well. Dang this anime.
But guys, that opening, the hand dance is fire.
Right up your alley.
I may have tried to do it to record myself at work.
You're gonna have to add that to the video.
No, it did not.
I can just see Troy in the mirror go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I should mention I did not do it well at all. It did not turn out. All right, let's go on to our spoiler section. So we're going to discuss characters, plot theories, basically anything that happened. It might come up. So if you are saving yourself for this anime, now would be a good time to just exit the podcast. Otherwise, let's keep going. This anime takes place in a world called Japan, where people work very hard. It's about adults. Guys, I absolutely love that it's about adults. Nothing wrong with teenage animes, but I'm so sick of high school clubs, and just seeing people watching a plot point be, you're going to play your video game at lunch, and being like, I play my video games at lunch.
You hit the nail on the head. This was a 100% refreshing. And I didn't need to know what they were doing at work. I didn't need to know what kind of industry it was. I didn't need to know who their upper bosses were. They had a job and they went to it, and the storytelling was in between. And that was a great decision that I didn't need to know one of our characters was really good at this one thing, like engineering, and then like we get a whole backstory and then like in-depth explanation. That's not what the story's about, and that's not what's interesting about this. But the fact that it's like they call out these people are 27 and older was brilliant.
Yeah. I also thought it was interesting how they could kind of cross the barrier that exists in the high school anime between students and teachers and things like that, right? Because one of the characters is kind of the boss, and yet he just pals around with them during all the important scenes. He's only the boss at work.
Interesting that he's still referred to as the senpai of the group.
Even though they call him out constantly and they're like, stop acting like it's work. It's not work. Don't talk like it's work. You don't get the bosses around here, senpai.
So we start off with our main character waking up. It's a great morning. She's like, I can't believe I woke up before my alarm went off. Only to realize she forgot to set her alarm. And she's super late for work. This is our main character, Narumi. They call her, I'll probably call her Naru a few times, just for shortening in my notes. But pink-haired office worker, secret otaku. She was an otaku in hiding at her last work. Her boyfriend found out. He broke up with her. So she had to leave that job. So she's starting a new job. This is our main character, as much as there is one. What did you guys think of her?
She was fun. She carried a lot of the show. And also she carried a lot of the jokes as well. Because there's a scene later on we'll be talking about where it got really serious, and then she was talking about something completely different. And the joke just hit right on. But I do love the fact that the stress of going to work with someone that she used to date that broke up with her caused her to quit her job. And also we find out how irresponsible she is, that she's screaming out the door because she woke up so late.
Yeah, there's like advisories on this episode and the next one where they're like, running on a train is not a good idea. Don't do this. Even though they're like, knowing that she's doing it over and over again. Yeah, she's an awesome character. She was very entertaining, very impulsive and outspoken. And yet to imagine that this character who has these qualities and is most at home and happiest when she's like this would kind of bottle it all up and hide all of it just to get along in society is actually kind of strange to have like in the back of my mind as I'm watching it. I'm like, this is the real her. This is the fun her that's entertaining. The her that she thinks she needs to package up for the rest of the world is probably really boring.
I can relate to that probably.
Right.
Almost every character, but her especially, it reminds me of that joke of like, I'm sitting here in this meeting and nobody thinks I'm thinking about dragons. Right. I am thinking about dragons.
Yes.
I mostly really like her, and I agree with everything you guys said. She has a lot of great jokes. Her reactions to things are great. The way they will use her face for jokes. She'll switch to JoJo's, art style for her face when she's making a reference. I had a little bit of annoyance with her in the way she treats the guy who likes her, but I think that's because I'm just such a big fan of that character that I was like, come on! How can you not think he's attractive? Look at how cool he is. But there was a few times I felt a little frustrated with her in that regard, but I do think that's just me being picky about romantic stuff. So
you're also identifying hard with Hiro.
Oh, so hard. Okay, so she does get to work and she meets not really a boss, a coworker who's going to tour her around, and this is Hanako. And Hanako has big boobs. And you may think I'm crass for pointing that out, but just so you know, Narumi also points it out 5 seconds after meeting her. He's walking behind her and she just kind of leans around behind her like, she's got huge boobs. Yep. And that's what's great about this anime is they're not pulling their punches and they are hitting those inner thoughts we all have that we don't, we won't say out loud, right?
And I think that's actually one thing I really appreciate about Narumi is her inner dialogue comedy was on point. So
some of her inner dialogue commentary just kind of blew right out too.
But as far as Hanako's large chest, they use it more for comedic effect than they do as like other other animes do to like fan service. Like exactly. We never like. I think there's one shot of her in a bath.
Yep.
And like
I was about to say, there's one fan service shot, and really that's about it.
Yeah, and like she's never wearing revealing clothing. She's not bouncing around. Like it's pretty tasteful for how big she is.
Yes, and she is quite large. There's actually another thing that I really liked about her chest was was how it was one of the many sources of jealousy. And I don't mean from Narumi because clearly, I mean, she's flat chested, and so they've got that going on. But with the men and how the men, it's actually touched on a few times that the men get a little bit jealous, a little bit possessive, which, come on, if you've ever been in a relationship, that's real. That happens.
Yeah.
And that was nice to see. That was also another level of maturity in the characters.
So thoughts on Hanako as a person?
I loved her cosplay, and I loved how it affected her relationship. But I thought she was witty, and like her sarcastic bite was really great.
The constant bickering between her and Kabakari or whatever his name is was fantastic. I loved it every time it was happening. It was great. But I also really loved this character when she was drunk because
all the inhibitions out the window.
Yes, just completely changed into a completely different character. But it also allowed her to to go back to some of those bickerings that they had taken part in before and hit some of the points that I kept wondering about when I was hearing it. Like, yeah, this is funny, but oh crap, some of this is really hurtful. How are you guys dealing with this so frequently? And yeah, they're not. They're not.
I also like the bickering. I love that she uses the bickering on purpose for manipulation. She's like, okay, I want to get my boyfriend to cosplay. Starting a fight. Let's go. I bet at the end of this, I get what I want. There's so many fights where you can tell this doesn't matter. Like, you're fighting over nothing, and they both know it, and that's just how they work together, and that's how they come to resolutions and express their feelings. The thing I loved most about her, or at least what the animators did with her, my favorite moments with her was when they showed her in casual wear, like sweatpants and a sweatshirt, and they even like kind of changed the way they draw her face. It's not as made up and stuff. Her hair's down. And instead of like, oh, now she wears a halter top and short shorts. And honestly, she's a beautifully animated character all the time. But I thought, like, man, that she looks really beautiful that way. And I love that they took the time to show her in a casual mode, and that she has a very different look than her office woman persona. And she showed it the most. Like, every character has their out of office look, but I really enjoyed the contrast between the two with her.
I agree.
So while they're doing this tour, they come across two male workers, and Narumi knows one of them, and and they stop and they say hi, and she's like, don't, and to stop him from saying something that would reveal her secret of being an otaku, she asks him out to drinks, and she gets away with it. They walk away, and he turns around. He's like, "Hey, are you going to Comiket?" Now,
the way it's drawn, her reaction is amazing.
So the world has ended.
Jeremy is responsible for me knowing what Comiket is, because I only know what that is because of Comic Artist and his assistants, another comedy anime. And I spent a lot of time comparing the two in this, and this one for me wins because while it made mature adult jokes, they felt like the jokes that I would also make, whereas the character in Comic Artist, I wouldn't say that stuff. I don't see things the way he does.
Well, clearly it's a connected universe. This is the same world.
They could be. I would not be surprised. And so this character that she means she goes out to drinks with that night, even though that her cover's blown, is Hirotaka. He is the romantic coupling to Narumi. He's a gamer otaku. So she is, we should mention, is a boy love or yaoi otaku, but she loves all anime and games. But her main focus, she likes to read stories about two boys falling in love.
I love the term for it. Apparently the term is fujoshi, and it means rotten girl.
And it's a big culture in Japan. It is. I know my own children have come across those mangas, and I'm like, oh gosh, okay. So Hirotaka, he is our gamer guy, and probably one we all relate to. The three of us being big gamers. Like I said, when he pulls out his video game in the middle of work at his lunch, and they're like, "You're gonna play that at lunch?" He's like, "Yep." And I've been there. So your guys' thoughts on Hirotaka?
I was a little concerned the first time they met because I thought, great, I'm gonna watch the entire anime about these two trying to hook up. Mm-hmm. And they resolved it so fast, and that was the turning point for me. I was like, okay, I can give this a chance, because like they're not doing the very tropey romantic chase, right? But yeah, identifying with this guy so hard, like wanting to be left alone, wanting to just play video games, like working to play video games, like that's my life. But also his hopeless romantic side hit with me really hard as well. Like this whole idea of, here's this person that it seems so far away, but I'll love them from a distance, because even if that makes them happy.
Yeah, I really liked also how deep the character was in the sense of recognizing um, his own path of development that he had taken through his life. That it was very different from what the people around him had done, and in some ways, it put him at a disadvantage. And that was really cool when he came to that conclusion that, you know, even though he does have some disadvantages socially, he still managed to find a way to get along and make some progress socially. I don't know. I guess I could identify with that a little bit myself. Socially is not always the easiest, but yeah, I really like the depth of character. He has a lot of facets.
Yeah, I love that he. Probably my favorite thing about him. There's a scene where he texts, and this character like is always like quick, very quick conversation. Right? He doesn't talk a lot. He doesn't emote. He doesn't express himself. And she gets a text from him, and there's like 5 texts in a row, and they're all long, and they're all super emotional, and the other characters see it, and they're like, "Wait, who's texting?" She's like, "No, that's really what he's like. He just doesn't like to express himself in front of people." I'm like, "Yes, yes."
Method of communication.
As someone who is slightly antisocial and when in large groups doesn't say a lot, I bet I've had people think the same thing about me. And the unrequited love aspect of it, they build it so well. You know, they kind of start hinting at it that, yeah, they knew each other as childhood friends, so that's how they know each other. But she went on to have social groups and friends, and he just kept playing his games. But he never forgot about her. She was always the one from that day. And the way they build it throughout the anime, it's hard not to root for Hirotaka all the way through. Plus, anytime he gets emotional and shoves his hands underneath his glasses, amazing.
So good.
So they go out for drinks, and this is their first time. You know, they catch up a little bit. He asked about her boyfriend. She's like, "That was like 4 boyfriends ago." and I had a really hot one, but he found out it was otaku. And he mentioned something about like, "Well, why don't you date an otaku?" She's like, "No, otakus are the worst. I would never do that." And so he just kind of, okay, I guess.
And then they have, during dinner, she's just like, "You're my best friend. I wouldn't want to screw that up."
Yeah, there's even a point where like she picks up his glasses to see if he's hot without him, and she's like, "Nope, you're not my type. Couldn't do it." Like right to his face. He's like, "Yeah, I can't imagine why you're single." So at work, she struggles. We kind of get the sense that she's not a really on the ball worker, right? She's slow. She's trying to learn the copier to exploding paper. You know, and the 2 guys are talking about her like, "Hey, look at your childhood friend. She's doing good." Copier explodes. Yeah, all right. But then after 2 weeks, she comes back up to Hirotaka and she's like, "Hey, I need your help. I want to take you out to drinks." And they go out to drinks again. And she goes back to complaining. And then the thing she needs help with is a video game. She's like, "I can't find this jewel." And so they play Switch together and they help. But he gets mistaken for her boyfriend at this time. The bartender thinks, "Oh, what does your boyfriend want?" And she laughs. She laughs. But he helps her grind out and get the item. So on their way home, he stops and he says, "Well, what about me?" And she's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, he says, "Baka baka baka," which I was quite happy about. He even starts like doing like hand motions at her. But you know, he says like, "I'll always be there to stay with you after work. I'll help you grind whatever game you need. And you know, when you sell your comics, I can be your assistant." She's like, "You're hired."
Yeah, it was more just for the table than anything else, I think.
So this is how they start dating. And this was him making his move. And like Jason said, it was not only am I watching adults go through adult situations, but I'm not going to watch the chase. This is about establishing a relationship after that first moment. And, you know, as someone who's been married a long time, that's way more interesting to me now than that chase. That chase happened for my life long ago. It's ancient history. But the development of a relationship is day to day and something I definitely have an emotional connection to. The next episode, we meet their buddy. So Narumi's having problems, and Hirotaka is talking to his buddy, and his buddy is kind of their boss. He's the senpai. I think he's just like the.
He seems like a team lead.
Yeah, like he's the veteran there, right? So he can tell the other workers what to do, but he seems to be doing the same job.
But he also seems to be like not quite management, but he's like, hey, get back to work, or hey, make sure you get this done, or this isn't right, you need to redo this. That's why I think he's more of a team lead, and that's also why he probably feels safe enough to do buddy because he's not too high to where you can't do the cross friendships.
And his tie is always loose, and I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Trope.
He also sends him on breaks, which is kind of a strange authority.
Yeah.
And apparently smoke breaks are not technically okay, but he gets away with it.
Yeah, that's always been a frustration of mine, where it's like, hey, I don't get any extra breaks. Come
right?
On. Yep.
I'm all about that.
Yep.
Anyway, so this is Taro Kabakura. I'm not calling him Taro, guys. You can call him whatever you want. But he's the orange haired. He kind of has a bad boy look to him, right? But he's like we said, he's probably the most responsible worker in the building. What did you guys think of him?
I love that they distinguished both Hanako and Kabakura as the otakus, but good at sports. They could easily fake the normie and hide their.
Didn't they call them a special breed? Like they're that special breed of otaku,
right?
The ones that are good at sports.
We hate them
because they can meld into social life better than anyone else, right? And he seems to be the least otaku out of the four because he only has like the one real good interest that he feels he needs to do alone.
Well, he likes cute girl manga and anime. Like his thing is Madoka Magica girls are like his thing.
Yeah, like even when they went to the manga store, like all of them were like, "Oh, this," and he's just like, "I'll come back here later when I get shop by myself."
and when I'm not dressed like I'm coming from work, like,
right?
I want to be incognito here.
But I really, really enjoyed this character because this kind of is relatable for me, where I can kind of toe the line of social acceptance, but then like I have deep video game interests. And also his comedy was pretty great in his bickering with Hanako because he was trying to establish himself, but they're both kind of alpha personalities.
Yes.
And I loved their backstory of finally we don't have to see each other anymore. Let's start dating.
Because they were rival team captains, and we all chose not to. Well, there is an OVA about their story of being in high school, but they were rival volleyball captains. There's a sport anime out there somewhere.
you know which OVA I would have rather have seen? The two characters we're going to run into later, Now and Cow. If there was an OVA on those two, I totally would have watched it.
Yeah. Well, I guess
I don't like these type of animes. I don't.
I don't believe you.
I know, right?
I guess there's going to be a live action movie of Wotakoi now, so that'll be interesting.
I'm not sure we needed that.
Okay.
Anyways,
all right, pulling this back on track. Jeremy, your thoughts on Taro?
Yeah, I absolutely love this character. He did his distance that he kept from the otaku things was really, really fun to kind of play with that. But yeah, just the bickering, everything. Nothing really new or different.
I loved his big brother approach to things. Like he always is trying to take care of this group. He's always, like, you need to be more responsible and stuff. And then he'll mess things up and make things worse. He's like, oh gosh, I'm the problem. He gets so embarrassed. Also, his resistance to things, especially other otaku things that he's not into, right? He's like, look, you can be into whatever you want, just don't involve me. And his girlfriend, of course, is like, I want to be into the same stuff, so you're going to be into my stuff. And And so we should know he is in a relationship with Hanako, even though that's not revealed till later. I do like that they introduce them separately and let them be separate characters for a moment, even though they're in a long-term relationship. I actually probably enjoyed this relationship better because it was long-term, because they could fight for no reason at all, right? If you've been married a long time, that kind of starts to happen. You find out you can jab a little bit, right? You can stir up the pot a little bit and see what happens, and you know where not to cross a line and stuff. And I enjoyed seeing that, and I enjoyed, just like I said, seeing them lazy Sunday, both in their sweats, just reading their comics next to each other, and knowing that was a quality day for them. That was cool.
I didn't quite acknowledge it until you said the whole Hanako manipulation part, but you're right, because there's a moment where asks him, like, what do you guys do? He's like, oh, we go out on the weekends. She's like, go out on the weekends, really? They start a big old fight, and he's like, fine, I'll take you out on Sunday. And she's like, good, don't you forget, we're going out on Sunday. That's all she wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. So the second episode starts. Narumi, since agreeing to date Hiro, has been running away from him. And so this was kind of the stuff that annoyed me about her. Like, of all the characters, she was the least mature in handling, especially the relationship stuff. And that was kind of like, okay, we're watching adults. They don't literally just run away from each other. But this does lead to a funny scene, because when he goes up to address her, she's talking with Hanako about it, and she mentions, no, I'm way more into guys like Taro. Turns around and her boyfriend's right there.
And Taro's right behind him.
And this digital narrator comes on, and she tries to run. They shows the door closed. She can't run.
It felt very Final Fantasy-ish when you try to run. It's like, you can't run.
Yeah, I thought it felt like I was like, is this a Pokemon battle? Is that what's going on?
Oh, yeah, because the controls came up on the bottom right, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah. That's Final Fantasy for me, too.
She because a fight starts between the other couple, who are like, don't you interfere. I can interfere if I want. She does able to run away. But Hiro catches up to her. And again, she can't run away again. There's a great moment, though, where he tells her, like, look, I wasn't trying to pressure you. Maybe I shouldn't have told you that I liked you. And they both look at the camera, and she says, he never said that. And he goes, I never said that. They realize he never did admit liking her, but now he has out loud. And she turns around and she hugs him, and it's a very sweet moment.
That moment there sold me, because it was so out of trope.
Mm-hmm.
You never see the two main love interests in an anime come to, like, I love you too, and then they embrace. Like, one usually says it, but the other one's like, it's requited, but they don't want to recruit, and then it gets awkward, and then you get the whole teenage grossness going on. They embrace and accept it and move on, and I was just like, yes, finally. And yeah, it felt very mature.
And just the fact that, hey, you solved the thing with communication, which in almost every anime, just say it, just talk. And him saying like, hey, I don't know why you're running away from me. If I did something wrong, I wasn't trying to mess things up. And even when he admits, I like you, and realizing in his head, okay, wait, I didn't actually say that before. Okay, that might have been the problem.
And then she tells him, don't ever say, or don't regret that you told me.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah, really, really impactful. And that's what sold me on the whole anime. It was just like, okay, I can get into this.
So then our next scene jumps into a fan. They call it a stan argument. Now, I'm not 100% sure on the meaning of stan, and I didn't know it was used in Japan, because I thought the word stan had to do with the Eminem song about that's called stan and about an obsessive fan. So I thought it meant obsessive fanning, which is pretty close to what it must actually mean. But they're actually arguing about best girl in Evangelion, which you guys probably don't recognize the names. I don't know. You guys haven't seen it yet, I don't think. It's the redhead and the purple hair girl. They were arguing about best girl, Hanako and Narumi, and I was like, yeah, best girl arguments. I do get this show.
This was another one of those moments where I was like, oh, they're doing the thing from comic artists where they go to the show and they're trying to sell the thing that they've created.
That's not this episode.
No?
What?
Yeah, that's not this episode.
Oh, it's not.
So
I thought that's what you were talking about.
no, they're this is just Narumi and Hanako sitting at work.
Oh, they're at work.
Arguing about this, and then Taro says, "Hey guys, let's go all out for drinks. I'm buying." So everyone's like, "Okay, we'll go." On the way, Narumi's like, "But I want to stop by the comic book store," and she says, "I want to go to the bookstore," and she takes them to a manga store.
So this is when they've all outed themselves. They all know each other as otaku, right?
Yeah. So Hanako had been caught by Narumi. She had cosplay pictures of herself. She's like, "Oh my god, that's that famous cosplayer!" And then she's like, "You're the famous cosplayer." And
yeah,
like, "You're the famous smut artist."
Yes. That's exactly what she is.
That did happen. I love the bleeping. You're Miss Beep. I don't use that name anymore, but you're totally Miss Beep. So yeah. So in this episode, yeah, they go get drinks, but they don't reach it. They go to this manga store instead. The guys go off on their own, and this is where Taro gets really pissed off because Hirotaka is following him around while he's trying to pick up cute girl manga. And he's like, "Hiro, you leave me alone." He's like, "I always just follow someone around. I don't really buy manga that much. I read online, and I'm a gamer." Meanwhile, the girls are in the boy love over 18 section, like, you can tell this one's really dirty. And then Hanako, being the manipulative person she is like, "Hey, new best friend, cosplay magazine. I don't cosplay. Best friend." They literally had just said, "We're soulmates," but over buying the boy love comic, and that's just like, "Aren't we soulmates?" Yeah, I'll buy the cosplay magazine.
I do like how they kind of wind up throughout the anime forcing each other to try their own personal preferred otaku nature.
Which you do as a geek. You're like, yeah, you like this? Have you heard of Game of Thrones?
Exactly. Yep.
One of my favorite scenes is in this episode, though, where they're heading out, and Hirotaka just says, "I can't wink." and a whole scene builds off of it. He's like, "I can wink both my eyes at the same time." They're like, "That's cute." No, that's just winking. You're blinking. The reason this is where I really connected with the character, honestly, because I've been in a social group and I've been like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And I have confessed out loud before, I can't whistle. That's something interesting about me.
How you solve the uncomfortable social situation.
So I 100% understood why Hirotaka just suddenly blurted out, "I can't wink." And yes, I cannot whistle. I'm a human being.
You can't either? I can't either. I have to breathe in.
And just like when I say this out loud, everyone's like, "No, it's easy. Just do this." And I'm like, okay, but I've heard all that before.
This is a new.
So in the next one, this is the one where they go to Comiket. Narumi's behind on her work. Hirotaka is helping her. They go to sell it. He gets really jealous of how awesome it is for her, I guess. Like, he's watching her sell and meeting all these people, and him without the social skills is like, that's beyond me. But because she gets behind on schedule, he ends up watching the booth.
Yeah, because she wants to go meet somebody, right?
Right. She misscheduled. So she leaves, and as she's coming back, she's hearing people talk about, "There's a hot guy selling gay porn."
Yeah. Oh my god.
I was like, "What did you make me watch, Jason?"
Oh, I loved the what was it? You get the computer
who was, like, buying it from him and rubbing his hands.
You get the computer voice again of walking at an acceptable fast pace or something like that. She starts booking it back to the booth.
So the buzz is again this culture is mostly for young women. This is what they like to read. But yes, then he is. They even say he was harassed, but a guy comes up and he's like, "You have soft hands."
He's rubbing his hands.
So creepy.
And I love that it's like just a shadow of a figure, right? They don't actually draw the person.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's just don't care.
Yeah, he's just standing there holding it. And I don't know what to do in this situation. Like he's almost frozen.
It's almost like he doesn't really understand that the person's making an overture.
he makes a note. He makes a mental note like, this is really awkward and I don't like it, but I have no social skills to defend myself.
Right.
Yep.
And yeah, he's so removed. He just kind of is like, that was a thing that happened. Right. The next sequence of events is my favorite in the whole series. It starts off with Hiro inviting Naru over to his apartment. He's like, "Hey, go stay at my place." And she's like, "Yep."
Oh, this one.
And then her eyes go wide, and it says in her head, she just realized she didn't know what color underwear she's wearing. Again, not something that would happen in a high school anime. Something that would happen in real life. A guy invites his girlfriend over to his place for the first time. She thinks, okay, that means something might happen. Oh God, what underwear did I choose to wear today? Someone might actually see it now. And that joke keeps running for a few minutes. Like every time they talk, she's like, "Oh crap, I forgot to check in the bathroom."
Yeah, she keeps realizing that she still doesn't know.
And then when they get to his place, she remembers it's beige. She's freaking out, and he's walking around. She's saying random stuff about smells, and he's like, "Does it smell because I smoke?" And she's like, "No. I just talk about smells sometimes."
And this is where I was talking about her inner dialogue was hilarious because she's like, "Why did I say that?"
He gets her a beer. Dry. I'm not even enough of a beer guy to fully understand that, but that line is delivered so perfectly.
Yeah.
He sits on the couch and he makes his move. He starts leaning out to her. He's getting close, and she yells out, "We should wait till I have pink ones." And he pulls back and he's holding 2 Nintendo Wii controllers, and he's like, "Oh, you wanted a pink one? I just have the white." And she's like, "Wait, you just want to play games?" He's like, "Yeah." Okay.
And I'm going like, what else do you think he wants to do? Like, I got the situation. I was like, oh, he's going to go in for a move. And then he pulls back and I was like, oh, that totally makes sense. Right. Like, in my head.
He's a gamer. Now there's someone to play with. And so, and I absolutely love that in this anime, they don't even show the video game. Sometimes they show Monster Hunter, but they don't show in this game or another game they play. And I was like, that's Mario Kart. I know Mario Kart when I hear Mario Kart.
Yep.
They're playing Mario Kart.
Wii wheels as well.
Yep. And talking about certain so their friends come over. Hanako and Taro show up, and they're playing, and they say a line of like, "Hey, I'm right behind you. Wait up for me." He's like, "I hear you blinking with that star power. Get away from me." If you play Mario Kart, that's real,
right? The disappointment on her face was tangible when the other two showed up, because when Hiro invited her over, he doesn't have the social skills to go, "Hey, we're gonna have a party, like a game party. Do you want to come over?" No, it was, "Hey, do you want to come over?" And so like there's so much meaning in that if she thinks she's the only one that's gonna be there.
And even though she was kind of hesitant and nervous, she got done with her work early to go over to his place. Like there were signs that she was like, "This is happening. I'm into this." And then, it turns out to a party, and she sees how happy he is to have friends to play video games with, which is new to him.
Right.
So she is okay with it, but she is a little bit disappointed.
Which later on, it makes the joke even better when he pulls out a pink Wii controller.
Yes.
Right, at the end of the episode, yeah. When he's like, I got the pink one, and she thinks he means underwear. And she's like, well, I didn't specifically mean as soon as we have pink ones. And he's like, Wii controller, what are you talking about? The end of this story, though, is while he goes to take a bath, Hanako wants to go look for his porn stash. And he's like, yeah, I don't care, whatever.
Did not expect that.
Actually, his response was fantastic. And then Taro's response to his response.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so they all, the three others, go into his room and start searching around. They can't find anything. We do see here that Taro and Hanako wear couples necklaces. And so we know that they are very much close together. But Narumi finds a box full of like old Yu-Gi-Oh cards and dice.
What are the sticks with characters on them? I've never seen those
They're
before.
pencils, but they're
pencils.
Well, they look like pencils.
Yeah, they look like pencils to me too.
But they had the character stats on them so he comes in and he's like, "Yeah, this is the ones you traded me for when we were kids. You wanted the cute characters and I wanted the powerful ones. You came up to me and we traded." And they had talked earlier about how they became friends, and she didn't remember. And he's saying this was that moment. You know, I kept the thing you gave me. I collected it. And she realizes that he's been paying more attention to their friendship their whole lives than she ever did. And she feels really bad. And she's like, if you think I'm the worst, you know, just punch me. And he's like, okay. and she freaking out. She's like, okay, I didn't think you were actually going to do it, but you know what? Whatever. I bet you can't punch at all. I bet you're a coward. And she's making all these excuses, and he's like, you need to close your mouth. And she's like, you're right. Close her eyes, close her mouth. And he reaches out, and he kisses her. And yes, I'm a grown man who swooned. I absolutely love this moment. And then right afterwards, she headbutts him in the nose for surprising her. But then they had a real discussion where he grabs her leg, and he kind of gives it a shake. He's like, are you mad? She's like, well, I'm not mad. I just didn't know you were a kissing guy. He's like, well, I am a guy. She's like, oh, yeah, because you love big boobs. Look at all you big boob figurines.
God, this moment was amazing.
This is so good. She had turned them all around to face the wall because they all had big boobs. He even noticed it. He's like, why are they all facing the wall?
She's like, do you like boobs? He's like, well, yeah, of course I like boobs.
I'm a dude.
Like, so she's upset with them, but she's not. We went into a lot of detail of this episode. We probably won't be able to do on the other ones, but this whole sequence of events had so many layers. And I was actually kind of disappointed it didn't get this romantic and real again. At least I didn't think, except for maybe one or two other times.
Yeah, I think one or two other times they do.
Because hitting this beat at episode 3, I was like, man, this is going to get intense and real, you know, as they build. And they do really kind of slow down their relationship after this. But this whole sequence of events from that, hey, come over to my house, to here's a pink Wii controller, fantastic writing, fantastic dialogue, so many great little moments showing where their relationship is and how each one has seen it, and it's different. I loved it.
Yeah, no, I really like this episode as well. Actually, piggybacking off of this, he ends up having a conversation with Taro, or was it Hanako? Anyways, about how everyone's relationships run differently, and it's okay to slow it down.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking of. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he comes to like this Zen moment of, okay, I don't have to run and, you know, be making out with her. I don't have to have her living with me. Like, we can take this at our own pace and make it comfortable instead of trying to force it. And again, hit on that real world, real adults, real relationships moment. And yeah, it was nice.
But I wanted them to do it. I want that known. I'm aware there's probably more story in the manga this comes from. I'm sure there might be more seasons of this anime. I was disappointed. Doing it did not happen. I'm not that I want to see it or it has to be on screen or anything. Just, you know, an implication that the relationship reached a physical stage. Is that weird? Doesn't matter. Let's go on.
Don't answer that.
Next episode, she's crying. She's watching Sailor Moon. He makes fun of her.
Moment.
He's like, why would you? You can't cry about your old anime.
You're not a kid anymore.
She's like, well, what if it was Dragon Ball Z? So he sits down and he watches it with her and he cries.
He's like, is this Dragon Ball Z? He's got his hands under his glasses. It's great.
And then we find out that Hirotaka has done some cosplay for Narubu. He would make a beautiful bride. That's his quote. This makes Hanako very jealous, the cosplayer, because Taro won't do anything like this. And they bicker and they fight. And he comes home and his apartment's a photo studio. And she wins. Hanako always wins.
Yeah.
In the end.
Well, I thought it got a little dirty because she was like, remember, I did that thing for you, and so you're gonna do this thing for me. And then come to find out that it wasn't what I assumed it was, but it was a figurine that he really, really wanted.
Otaku life, man.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what is it? Someone asked him about like the quality of it. He was like, it was amazing.
The next part of this episode, they do actually go out to drinks for the first time ever. No stops at bookstores this time. And Hana gets drunk, and
after one beer,
they shouldn't even finish the beer. It's like half gone, and she's just inhibition's gone. She's flirting with Hirotaka. She's just everywhere. Someone says the line, "I'm going to go rough on you like an X-rated doujinshi," when they're mad, and that might be the best line ever. She ends up in a fight though with Taro. Hanako does, while being drunk. He always calls her old hag. He's talking about how he likes cute girls. Narumi's like, say something you like about each other. He's like, I like her big boobs. She tries to punch him. He tells her, you're not as cute as this manga. I don't know the manga character, but this cute manga character. He's like, what? Do you think you're this other character? She throws a shoe at him. Hirotaka's like, that was my shoe. She storms off. Narumi tries to cheer her up, and then Taro comes and talks to her.
Well, actually, before Taro comes, I love that she's like, like, oh, I'm going to comfort my friend. Man, her boobs are amazing.
All he cares about are my big boobs. She does have huge boobs.
Yep.
And like they're hugging, and she's like, they feel amazing. But yeah, then Taro
that is
comes.
True. And Taro, go ahead. Tell us what Taro does.
Oh, like I thought he was gonna come in and like embrace her and tell her everything's okay and I'm sorry. No, doesn't happen. But he does like make up with her in his own way, which is a little frustrating to watch, but again, kind of real life. Like you see stuff like that all the time where people like they've got this pride they're trying to push down enough to make up with the other person, and he just can't come to say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. But he's like, these are the reasons I said the thing, and I never meant to hurt you, kind of thing. And they make up enough, but
he pulls this move where he makes her so mad. She looks at him and he says the line, you finally looked at my face, old hag. And he's got this big smile on his face. And so I kind of took it as to say, like, can't you tell I'm joking? Can't you tell this isn't someone who's actually judging you or doesn't like looking at you? Look, I'm looking at you. I do like looking at you.
That's right. Because she's complaining that he would rather have Narumi instead of her.
She'd rather have a cutie girl instead of a, mature looking woman.
Right.
And it's something this anime does well, where you kind of have to figure out what the characters are actually saying. They very rarely just spell out, I'm sorry or I was wrong. It's very much, like you said, a very realistic language between the couple of, you know what I mean when I say this. She knew what he meant. And even if I don't 100% do, Hanako does. She sees his face and realizes what he's trying to say. And they embrace right after this because she went to smack him. He caught it. He's like, "Nah, you're looking at my face, see?" And that won her over. Also, she's drunk, and it has been established when he smiles at her, it makes her feel the mushy feelings inside, and she hates it. He can win her over with his smile, and he knows that.
Ace in the hole.
The scene where she winks at him, like, "Got you. Now you're stuck with the mushy feelings." And he smiles back at her, and she's like, "Oh, he got me. I feel the mushy feelings." And then he walks by, like, she's in a good mood. She must have pooped.
Yes, that was great. You sent me that picture, and you were like, "I think this humor might be right up your alley, Jeremy." And you just sent that picture of him walking down the hallway with that subtitle. So, yep, I got a good laugh.
And then Naru and Hiro actually have a conversation at the end of this episode about she's saying the words, "I'm worried you're with me with an otaku," but she actually is also saying, "I'm worried you're with me and not getting what you want," and I'm indicating giant boobs on the screen right now. And he makes a joke, but then he very sincerely tells her, like, "I really like you, and I'm enjoying being with you." And then they actually have he breaks out in a genuine laughter, and probably one of the only times he really smiles, his face lights up. This was a really cool scene and a good moment for their.
Is this where they were talking about whether or not it was simply a relationship of convenience?
Yeah, she's kind of hinting at that, but she's not only saying what she means. She's saying this, and there's also the context of, he's looking at my chest, and it's not as much there as the big boob figurines he had last episode.
Yeah, I actually really liked that it went this direction because that's an issue in every relationship. You always have self-doubt. Yep. So that was cool to see. Very mature topic, and probably one of the most mature. As like, does this person really want me? Because I sure see the flaws that I know they're seeing.
But also, like, I love the way the anime handled it. Like, she didn't run out the door, and that was the last we saw of her for another 10 minutes, right? Or that it exploded in this huge relationship ending thing. It was like, couples have fights, couples have misunderstandings, and couples make up. Like, this is reality, right?
The next episode, we find out that Hirotaka has pierced ears at one point in his life.
I was wondering about this up until then because I kept seeing the shade, and I was like, "Is that just his earlobes? Is it pierced?"
You're right, though. It was dark. I didn't notice it. My daughter walked in when I was watching. She goes, "Why does he have pierced ears?" I was like, "He's not wearing an earring. I don't know what you're talking about." She's like, "No, you can see the little dot." Yep. That was a good detail they kept in, because they could have just edited it at this point, and you probably wouldn't have noticed or cared.
Yep.
Yeah. This will be an important plot point. It's actually probably one of my favorite plot points. It really is a deep pull into Hirotaka's inner character, like what's driven him his whole life. And I love that they start the episode with just a little mention of it, and then they let it go.
Yeah.
This isn't the backstory for that now. It's just, hey, just so you guys know, his ears were pierced at one point. And he says something about, like, I was trying to be an adult. She's like, "Oh, do you want to be an adult?" He's like, "No, I want to be a kid now." Kids
Yes. It's funny, when you're a kid, you always want to grow up as fast as you can. Once you get here, you're like, "Oh man, I kind of missed some of that."
But, like, the whole responsibility aspect, it's like, can someone else be the adult?
Right?
Just not.
Yeah, exactly. So on his lunch break the next day, Hiro falls asleep while Narumi is talking to him. As someone who takes naps at work due to staying up late and playing video games, I get this.
Ding, 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 ding.
So she wanders over to the local Starbucks, and she meets a cute barista. Starbucks. Sorry.
It's so funny.
They paid for licensing on many things in this anime, not that. She realizes she knows him, and they go to have a talk. And meanwhile, Hanako and Taro are in the cafe, and they are seeing this, and they're like freaking out. What is happening?
Yeah,
that must be her ex. Why is she talking to him? Where is Hirotaka? Hirotaka shows up because they text him.
I love how they like fight over whether or not it's okay to get involved at all, and in the end, the person who was saying "don't go physically get involved right now" was actually texting Hirotaka.
No, and I love how Taro's like fighting with Hanaka about what they should do, and like
she's already made the decision of what they're
it's
going
done.
to do.
Well, not only that, but like Hiro's sitting next to him for like half the conversation.
Yes, you actually see him sit down, and you're like, "Is that his
like-
leg?"
It was very funny. They're still going, and you know Hiro's right there.
Yeah.
Hiro does see what's going on. He walks over, and they're like, "Don't freak out, man! Don't go crazy!" Like, that's my brother. Oh, that makes way more sense than what we were thinking.
And I love that it doesn't end here. Their suspicion and caution sticks around for this relationship. And I was watching this whole thing, and I'm like, that's exactly how I would have responded. Like, I would have seen that and been like, dude, you're getting a little bit too familiar there. Do you know the situation?
And it has a great payoff too, story-wise.
Yeah.
They carried through that through line, and then they had an emotional beat to it. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about this character who we meet. His name is Now. What did you think of Now?
I liked him. He was definitely not the star of the show, but his he was the tropey college kid that you get in other anime stuck into an adult situation, and I thought that was a great anime grounding character to not only remind you, hey, we're in an anime, but also him learning adult stuff from the adults around him, because he's technically an adult, but like he's what, 21?
I think he's 19.
Oh,
still,
okay.
Still in college while they're all out.
Yeah, he's still in college. But yeah, I liked it. He was a good addition to the cast, and I'm glad that he didn't take up too much storytelling space, even though I ended up wanting to watch him more with his relationship. Yeah. But yeah, I think he has one of the funnier payoff moments as far as like what is it? Joke wise, when he goes back to the apartment with them because they're all playing video games, and then he's like, he says something about like, "Oh, I don't play video games," and then Narumi is like, "Oh my god, we may have exposed ourselves. What have I said already? Does he know? Does he know we're Otaku? Oh god, what do I say now?"
Yep, I really like this character. I loved how every time that they would draw him, he'd have the cat mouth. How you knew that he was mischievous and fun-loving and energetic, and that's one of the reasons why like there was a little bit of concern when I saw his behavior with Narumi. Yeah, because they are very similar. They're very similar, and their mentality and behavior is very compatible, except for the fact that he's not an otaku. And so yeah, he was. I totally agree with you that by the time they finished the series, I would totally be on board for seeing more of where his story goes.
Yeah, he's very cute. He's very playful. He clearly has lots of friends, and he's very good at making friends. And I love the fact that makes him the outcast of this group.
Right?
Yeah. He's the most normal person there, and he shows up to this apartment like, I don't really know how to play video games, guys. Oh my god, this guy can't even right now. And his brother, I don't have time for this BS. Like, they're like, no, you should help him play. No, I don't care.
I love the, you should tell him what you do before you pick that level. He's like, it won't matter.
I love the fact that like even when he gets the super weapon on the level and they're like, yeah, now you're invincible. He's like, oh, I fell off the edge of the map.
They're obviously playing Smash Brothers.
They're playing Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Yep. It felt like when I was playing Smash Brothers.
And of course, no, Hanako wasn't playing, right? It was just Taro.
Yeah, Hanako said she'd watch.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But Narumi and Taro were on a team, and they ended up bickering because they couldn't beat,
Yeah. So like Jeremy hinted at, after all this, because Hirotaka, again, still sleepy from too much games, passes out on the couch, and won't wake up for anything, apparently. Good for him. Being a heavy sleeper's got its value. Now it was like, oh, I'll walk Naomi home. Taro goes into Big Brother mode. Like, oh no, buddy, just so you know, she's got a boyfriend. You need to freaking back off. And I was like, oh my god, I didn't know you guys were dating. I'm so sorry.
This is such a great scene.
There's so many great character moments here. First off, Hanako is like, I don't got time for this BS. She grabs her man by the tie, pulls him down, and just gives him a big kiss, and then looks at now and is like, you get it, right? Together. We're together.
Yeah, and it's great because he initially thought Taro was dating her. That's just so crazy.
And then they point out, no, Narumi's with your brother.
Mm-hmm.
And now starts to cry. And he's like, I've always wanted that. You used to, I've always afraid basically, my brother's going to be forever alone. And you were the one person who was nice to him. And I've always wished you would stay by his side forever. And now it's going to happen. And this is the moment I'm like, okay, character, I like you. That was the perfect reaction. You nailed me. I'm on board.
And also, Taro felt like an ass.
And Taro starts to cry.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good. The next day, Hiro and Taro pose for yaoi pictures. It would be hard to date those girls. Hiro and Naru have to face a rainy day walk home, and they both forgot their umbrellas, but Taro gives them his, and we see Hiro like perfectly doing boyfriend behavior. Like he gets in between her and the car so she can't be splashed. He also makes sure his video games are on the safe side. He's perfect.
I love the little arrows that show up too.
And then Taro walks home with his girlfriend, and I love that when she's walking along, she's like, man, I hate rainy days. It's the worst. And then he comes up beside her and he's like, you know what? Let's just go back to my apartment and hang out. And she's like, I love rainy days.
Actually, it was kind of funny to watch that him giving Hiro and Narumi his umbrella turned into ulterior motives of I'm gonna run up to Hanako and she goes, where's your umbrella? He's like, oh, I totally forgot it. Feel bad for me? Want to come over to my place?
Yep.
The next segment is Narumi's been acting weird all day, and Hiro, she won't tell him what's going on. And he starts kind of freaking out about it. He's like, I don't know how to connect with her. His friends are like, well, just ask her out for drinks. Help her have fun. That helps everybody. So at the end of the day, he waits for her and he's like, hey, let's go out for drinks. She's like, no, I just can't. He's like, okay, you gotta tell me what's going on. And she's like, no, I'm fine. It's not you. Everything's okay. And he like sits her down. He's like, you're okay. It's not me. That's the kind of stuff. That's the BS you want to feed me. And he says the line, do not show me your fake smile. And I absolutely love that line.
Yeah.
And he gets her to admit what's really going on. Promises not to be mad. And her favorite manga character died. This is real. That's real. Okay, I've been sad for a day because of an anime character or a video game ending. Final Fantasy X ending. I was sad for like 3 days.
Or a Game of Thrones character.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was like so real for me. I was like, yep, been there. Then Christmas time, we get a Christmas moment, which basically is Taro is working extra hard because last Christmas sucked. He didn't, he just worked straight through it. And Hanako was upset. This time she's heading home. She figures he's doing it again, and he catches her at the elevator. He's like, no, the reason I work so hard is so I could take you to this reservation I made like 6 months ago. Takes her to a fancy restaurant, and she gives him a new figurine.
No, it was funny because she, they're sitting at dinner. She's like, how long ago did you make this? He's like, yeah, back in like June or July. She's like, all right, we're even. Like, this made up for last year. Like, good job.
Yep.
And then Hiro and Naru just play video games for Christmas. There is a scene where they run into his brother, And he's like, I believe Santa is the goodness in all. And she's like, his world is like heaven. He's like, no, his mind is like heaven. Let's go.
And he's freezing out there in that paper thin Santa suit.
Yep.
In episode 7, we finally get to see a video game that they're playing. We get to go inside the video game. They're all kind of chibi versions of themselves. We see Taro first, and then he runs into Narumi, who she's like, I'm this cute elf girl, and I'm an assassin.
Oh yeah, I love this.
Dual blades. He's a little frustrated because she's a higher level than him. And then Hanako shows up, and she's got the paid for skin. You paid for that? No, I didn't. Yes, she did.
Yeah, right.
Yep. They go off and they actually encounter this very rare enemy. It's this big dragon. Taro's like, well, okay, let's run away. We don't have to face it. And Narumi's like, no, we have to kill it. It's so rare. And then, Hirotaka
blasts him with her own.
That's right. He's like, Hanako, you do support magic. She's like, don't tell me what to do. Blast him instead. They're all like waiting for Hiro to show up because he's the gamer guy, but he doesn't play online mobile games that often. But he does show up, but he's being played by Now, and he falls off a cliff, and he's totally worthless. And then Hirotaka takes over the character and kills the monster one blow. You hear Jason on this podcast talk about Path of Exile a lot. When me and Jeremy play with him, that's what it feels like. This episode.
This was a shock.
Right. Because he's laying on the ground, he's just like, I have to kill the monster without taking any damage. Okay.
Yep. I can totally do this. All my resists are up and my flasks are filled. I got this covered.
I love that he's like, I haven't played a multiplayer game in a long time. That wasn't multiplayer. You just did it yourself.
And you are max level, so he plays the multiplayer game solo.
And then the second half, the guys go out with their juniors for drinks, and so the two girls go off to have dinner together, where they basically just argue about their boy love stories, and then they start shipping their boyfriends together and then arguing over how that would work. Yeah, that was an interesting one.
The rift that happens between them because of the argument was pretty amazing.
Yep.
Can we ever be friends again?
In the next world.
In another life.
Yeah.
I did appreciate that the juniors are talking about the two girls, right?
Yes.
They're like, oh, these girls are hot, and the guys are clearly not okay with that. And
They're
Taro,
bristling little by little.
yeah,
but it seems the culture of not dating people you work with, or at least making it public, seems to be pretty standard over there as it does over here.
Yeah, probably one of the big only complaints I had was I have a hard time believing no one's figuring this out. They go to lunch together every single day. They're talking to each other 5 times a day.
Drinks.
Yeah. And no one seems to be noticing this. And knowing American work gossip, I don't see how it's not basically a known fact that they're all dating. Yeah. But apparently it's not. And so, yeah, they have to endure these juniors. And finally, Taro kind of puts them in their place. Like, hey, they're probably dating someone. You should probably be watching your frickin' mouth. Basically. My favorite part, though, was Now talking to Hirotaka because he overheard the girls talking about their debate. And he's like, they said you should be on top. He's like, that is not what you think that means.
Nope.
That was pretty funny. Episode 8, we get the storm. This was actually a really, really sentimental, romantic touch. I really like this. And we got to so Hirotaka, we find out the big storm's coming. We find out he's scared of thunder. And the reason they gave was absolutely wonderful because when I first heard it, I was like, "That's really stupid. Who would be?" And then I remembered all the games I've lost to lightning and thunder, and I was like, "Yep, I'm gonna agree with him." He's afraid of thunder because it ruined so many of his video games, and he just has an instant reaction that thunderstorms are the worst.
Yeah, it seems like he was not afraid, like scared. He was bothered by it, and it made him upset because it just flooded him with bad memories. But it did produce one decent memory for him where, as children, Narumi like basically busts down his door, and then she starts scolding him for opening the door to a stranger.
Right, because he was sick home alone, and there was thunder. And then when she came banging on his door, he let her in, and she yells, "Well, why would you let me in? Thank you." This is an important memory for him, though, because that was the one time he wasn't scared of the thunder. And I do think he is actually afraid of the thunder. I think the video game thing might have been a little bit of a, I could tell these guys this and they'll believe it. Because that thunderstorm didn't seem game related, and he seemed to be upset by it anyway. But yeah, he used that memory, and during this in present time, Narumi's also worried about him. He's going and taking an extra smoke break, so she goes and she stands outside and just kind of tries to be there for him and pretending
over
that
text, right?
Yeah, and she doesn't want to be in the smoke room. And then after the thunderstorm, we see the flashback of him piercing his own ear, and it getting stuck in his ear, and him wondering like, I thought this would make me feel different. I thought this would make me feel better. I thought this would be harder. I thought all these things. With a character that through most of this anime, you don't get a lot of reaction from, right? When he does show emotion, it's usually a comedy bit. To suddenly get into his inner thoughts like that and realize these very stoic characters and stoic people have just as many random thoughts and fears and stuff going through your head. I really love this flashback. And then we see him at school the next day, and he sees Narumi walking down the hall with her boyfriend who has 3 ear piercings. And you know, it's very clear in this anime he's loved her from day one. And like I said, the way they build that up over time, the way they keep showing that he has always wanted to be with her every single day ever. And now has finally had the chance. Again, the hopeless romantic in me completely loved this.
I'm right there with you, unfortunately.
it was interesting to observe.
Gary is completely disconnected.
Yeah.
Moving on.
They go to drinking again. Hiro tries to show off his new winking skills. They aren't there. Hana gets drunk immediately again.
This time she starts hitting on Narumi.
Yeah, she's basically, yeah, that's right, she does. And Taro gets all jealous, and Hirotaka asked Narumi if she'd ever get jealous of him, and she's like, no, like, why would I have to be jealous of you're you? And so he starts he's a little worried about what their relationship really is, because she isn't concerned about stuff like that. And actually he can't find her the next day, and he's looking around for her, so he goes to his friends, and they're basically still arguing. And he realizes as he watches them argue, like, my relationship is different. There's something not relationship-y about us. You know, if that's what a relationship is, how come we're so different? And meanwhile, Naru is talking to Nao, and they're talking about stuff, and he's like, oh yeah, but how many dates have you been on? She's like, well, we go to his house and play video games, or we go to the arcade and play video games, or he helps me sell manga, or oh my gosh, we haven't gone on a date. And so they kind of both come to the same realization at the same time that they need to go on a date. And this episode ends with him asking her, will you go on an actual date with me?
And then she construes that with, yeah, I'll come to your house and play video games.
But they do decide to go on a real date. They go to an amusement park. And they have a rule, the otaku rule, where if they act like an otaku, they have to pay 500 yen into a piggy bank. Yeah, they can't. They're both sitting there in line. They're like, oh, I should talk about that anime. Nope, can't talk about that. And she's like, oh, I should talk about the anime. Nope, can't do that. I love when he pulled out Pokemon Go. She's like, nope, that's a game. And he's like, lots of people play this game. No one who's not an otaku still plays that game.
Or what was the where he says something about that? Oh, remember last Wednesday that and he's like, never mind. And then she's like, oh, that's right, last Wednesday. Never mind. And then she says something, and then it gets him to admit it. And the look on her face is great because she's like, ah.
At one point, she buys 2 churros, and then she makes an anime reference about why she bought the 2 churros. And he's like, nope, you got to pay for that. She's like, I was just making a reference. Eventually, after going on rides and going through the day, they go to a haunted house ride. And she starts getting really nervous and freaked out, and he's his usual stoic self. So she grabs a hand, she pushes him into the car. She's like, let's go, let's just go. And realizes she just grabbed a random stranger. But it isn't a random stranger, it's Taro. And he's like, what the hell?
How'd you pull me into this dimension?
And then come to find out, both of them were hoping to go on a ride with someone they could like either cuddle or hold hands with, because they're both terrified of this place.
Yep. So they go together, and the best is when he has his eyes closed. She's like, you have to look. That's the whole point. It's terrifying.
It'll pay money and stand in line for nothing.
It'll be a waste if you keep your eyes closed.
He's right behind you.
Stop telling me where he is.
Meanwhile, Hirotaka and Hanako then ride together. And Hanako, this is where Hanako gives them the advice of like, relationships have their own speeds, different people, and you need to find what works for you, and that's all that matters. Even though I do hope you kiss her.
And I love how they're both just completely unaffected by the ride.
Yeah, like they don't even notice anything that's going on. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, the couple say goodbye. They go their different ways. And so Hirotaka's walking with Narumi, and he's thinking, like, I want to grab her hand. She's like, we should go sit over on that bench and take a rest. He's like, man, she's so with it. She knows how to talk to people. She knows how to think about others. And I think about coins and collecting them and experience points. And I feel like such a child compared to her at times. Mm-hmm. They go to, and then he realizes his shoes are bleeding. He's bleeding in his shoes because he hasn't told anybody his feet are sore. So they go down, they put on Band-Aids. And she actually freaks him out because she's like, we should just end this.
Well, that's right, because he asks, are you happy with me?
Yeah, he's like, do you enjoy being with me? And she's like, we should just end this. This is not working. And he starts freaking out. She pulls out the piggy bank. She's like, we're otakus. We got to otaku.
Please, no more penalties.
So they
this one got me.
They end the bed. She just starts ranting about anime again. Oh my god, did you see that anime?
Yep.
And then she pulls out a gift for him, and it is earrings. And he looks over at her, and he notices she's wearing matching earrings. And this embarrasses her, and he laughs at her. But this is the first thing that she's really done that says, I'm a couple with you. Like, he's always kind of making the effort for her. And this is kind of her first. And he realizes that she does see him as a partner. She does see them as a couple. And so he goes in for a big kiss and instead hugs her because apparently that's their pace. But whatever, dude.
Right? I was disappointed.
And then you find out his piercings are closed because that was years ago. That's not how it works. Those do not stay open.
I also thought it was funny that Taro kept like harassing Hanako. What'd you guys talk about? Right. No, I get what you're saying, but what'd you guys talk about?
Yeah, sometimes, and she's letting him be like. She can clearly just say, "Yeah, he's worried about his relationship," but she's like, "Oh, jealous much?"
Yep.
We meet a new character in the next episode, which I thought was weird because this is episode 10 and 11 episode anime. And we meet a new character right here. And so it's now is taking a break from work. And he notices a customer playing the online game that his friends and brother he had seen playing, that he had, played for a minute. So he goes up and talks to him, and this character gets super embarrassed and runs away. And this is Cow, who is has short hair, wears a sweater, but it is a girl. But it's questionable whether he knows that or not. Because even when he talks to his buddies, they said he, and then they later corrected themselves after he left that, oh no, that's a girl, dude. I think
if he would behave a little bit differently, like if he would be more nervous.
I kept waiting for him to go like, oh no, I knew the whole time. I swear that in my head that's what's happening, but it does not make clear.
Knowing the character that now has been so far, I could see it being that way, but I think it would be entertaining if there's a side of him that has trouble with girls.
Maybe. Jason, what's your theory? This is the only place we have room for a theory.
Yeah, there's nothing else.
No, I'm kind of in both camps because he does seem pretty naive and oblivious to the world around him. But it wouldn't surprise me if he just knew and he just saw this person as relatable to his brother and just kind of going, you know what, this person needs a friend. And I don't have a lot going on right now, so let's be friends. I do love every time we see them interacting at first. She's playing and he's sitting there just doing whatever. And because he called back to his brother going, what's so important that you had to interrupt me from my game? And so he understands that game otaku is like, you interrupt me from my game, it's going to upset me. So he just waits patiently. But of course, she has no idea he's sitting there until she's done. And then she looks up, oh my God.
Yeah. Sorry. That's like her one word.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I almost felt bad for her because this is whereas Hirotaka is a gamer otaku, but he knows what he is and he almost has a confidence in himself. Like, yeah, I'm a gamer otaku. I'm not super sociable, but that's who I am, and I can deal with that. Where this character felt like, oh my God, this person saw me playing a game. I'm so embarrassed. And, oh, I'm ruining other people's lives, and it was so different of a character compared to the other gamer otaku. So, what did you guys think of Kao? Because I'm interested where they're going with her, but I was like, why 2 episodes? At the end, why are we now talking about this?
It makes me feel like season 2 is coming pretty quick.
Right.
At least that would be the intention of doing something like this, especially with such a highly rated anime like this. To say, hey, we're going to continue this story, because like with slice of life, that's what it is. It's a slice, right? And from beginning to end, even if the end doesn't have some sort of conclusion, you come into it knowing, hey, this is slice of life. It's not going to have some sort of big finale. How do we keep someone with a cliffhanger in a real life type scenario? And so I think this was probably their way of doing it, especially with the 2 characters that they did it with. Because, yeah, we could be interested in continuing the 4 main characters' story, but how much more interesting would it be to see where these 2 lead, right? Because, yeah, we don't know if Now knows if it's a boy or girl, or if Now's even interested in her like that. We just don't know. And, they end up spending a lot of time together. But, I liked Kao, because she did remind me of Hiro, but a less confident version.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with the possibility of it being just a way to hook. I think there's also something to be said, even though it's only 2 episodes. We have a mature relationship between Hanako and Taro. We have a less mature, but still pretty mature relationship. I mean, when we're looking at what we've seen in anime before, at least. And then we have something that's a little bit more traditional, the budding romance, the budding relationship between these 2 characters. So there's also like appealing to a whole nother audience with the last 2 episodes.
Okay. So this story plays out with after this character runs away, Now sees they dropped a paper and realizes they're both college students, so finds Kao at the college, approaches her again, says, hey, I notice you're a gamer, my brother's a gamer, I want to be friends with you, which Kao takes as, oh, you want to be in my friends list in my game world. So she gives her, and you know what? That's completely understood that thought. If someone saw me playing PlayStation and said they want to be friends, I'd be like, "Oh, okay, this is my gamer tag."
Uh-huh.
No, that's not what I meant. But great.
So now has to play this game that he's, of course, is horrible at because he's horrible at all games. So the others decide to help him level up. Hiro does not decide to help him level up. He's too busy playing a different game.
I love that.
In the same room.
I love this. And the excuse that he gives is, I'm sleeping.
Yeah, well, he's laying in bed playing the Switch.
So they jump into a battle, they get overwhelmed, and this mysterious character jumps in and saves them and then jumps away. And then Hiro shows up and he's like, they're like, "Oh, was that you in another skin?" He's like, "No, I just got here with."
And he's got a joke skin. I love that he uses a joke skin. He completely trolls the game. Like, it's so pathetic. He doesn't take it seriously at all.
And his hat is the same as his pillow on his couch.
Yeah.
So and then but now realizes that Cow was the one who saved him and messages her thanking her. We then get a quick little side story of Narubu is running late. She bumps into Hirotaka on his way to work because he literally can't see where he's going. His glasses broke that morning and he is blind as a bat. So she goes to work with him and he's like pressing his face up against the screen. He's so blind trying to work. At one point, Taro gives him an assignment and he goes up and he grabs Taro's face and pulls him so close. There's a great so again it's the boy love moment, right? The girls see it and the girls look at each other, give each other the thumbs up, like, yeah, I'm gonna use that image later. They don't say it, but I'm like, I know what that looks like.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're thinking.
But then Naru like overhears a bunch of the office girls going, "Wow, did he get hot after taking off his glasses?" Mm-hmm. Which finally we get a little bit of jealousy from her.
And even Hanako is like, "Yeah, your man hot." And she said that before. She's been like, he's attractive, he's tall, he's got a good job. What's not to like? She's like, no, that's my gamer buddy from when I was a kid. That she's never been able to see him that way. And again, the kind of clashes here. She's like, they think he's hot? Well, why do they think he's hot? And the girls are like, will you read this for me? To get close to him. Taro's big brotherness kicks in. He's like, go get glasses right now. And I think I need someone to help him. No, Narubu, will you take him to go get glasses, please?
I do like how he says to her, when you get back, don't have any more distractions. Make sure you're ready to work.
What was the scene where she's like, I made you these copies. Oh, thank you. Were there any errors? 200?
Yeah, a lot.
She's not a model employee. So they go to get glasses. Narubu tells him, everyone thought you were super hot. You should get contacts. He's like, yeah, should have. But she calls him out. She's like, I think you're faking it. I think all this was just to get attention. Because every time I'm around, you see my face is fine. He's like, no, I just always know it's you. Oh, come on.
I was like, oh.
In your face, girl. But he decides to get glasses again. And then poor Now, he's trying to get past the tutorial level of the game. He has to beat one boss, the beginner boss.
It's
you have to do it solo.
Yeah.
If you ever played MMO, there's always that solo tutorial level you have to go through. And he cannot do it. And Cal's waiting on the other side for him, like, maybe try new weapons.
What was it? And then she ends up giving him a knuckle type. And so then Hiro's like, oh, that's a type of weapon I haven't tried before.
Right. Now gets a phone call. And so Hiro sees the computer is like, I've never tried that weapon type. It's like, so then we see it from Cal's point of view. So she's in this area. She's fighting stuff. She's waiting for him. All of a sudden she sees him run in and just blow out an entire mob. And she's like, whoa, how did that happen? And he looks at her like,
yeah, no words.
Like he's glaring at her almost.
Like, why are you talking to me? And then you hear Now get off my game. And Now explains what happens. And then Cal does the, I want you to stay and play. He's like, oh, because his brother always got mad at him, so he assumes his gaming skills are ruining her day, right? But she's just so happy to have someone that cares about her.
That was my PoE experience. It was just so nice to play with some buddies, and then you guys were like, "Oh, we're falling so far behind," or "Oh, we want to read the story," and I'm just like, "No, please take your time. I'll wait right here. I'm fine."
I'd be like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna buy this item. Oh, I reached the next act. Jason, where'd you go?"
Yeah, exactly. Oh, here, I dropped a portal scroll for you.
Yeah.
You just come through the portal.
Just skip all that content.
Stand here while the boss dies.
Oh man. So in the final episode, this is actually one of my favorite scenes. Is just Taro and Hana hanging out at home, just reading manga, doing their thing. She sees some schoolgirls outside and reminds her of like when they were in school, but there's just a lazy Sunday together. And honestly, in all my years being married, that can be as romantic as anything as far as I'm concerned. So I was like, oh, that's sweet.
There, but it turns into a little bit of a fight.
Yeah,
and this fight.
Yeah.
No, but this fight was a perfect personification of my inner struggle with this anime. Like, because, so she's just like, hey, you should try this book. And he's like, no, I'm never going to try that book. And, boy love book. He's just like, it's not for me. And she's just like, yeah, but I want you to be, have something in common with me. And he's like, look, I like my shoujin, and that's it. That's all I'm going to do. And she's just like, it's basically shoujin just with boys. And he's like, no, I don't want to. And then she puts on the pouty face and like, my feelings are hurt. And he's like, fine, give it to me. Let me read it. And then he reads it. He's like, it is just like, it's so good.
So good.
It's like, the writing's so amazing. And I'm like, this is my interaction with this anime. Like, I would never pick this, but I'm loving it. Dang it.
The only thing that I was sad about was how there's always a comparison between the two relationships. So like one of the girls will always be like, why isn't our situation more like that situation? He's trying to do this, you're not. And yeah, it happens, but I always hate that in relationships.
Yeah, she is. You can tell she's kind of jealous because Hirotaka, you could literally put anything in front of him. You could be like, hey, will you read this gay porn with me? And he will, and he'll be like, I thought the plot was a little meandering. Because all he cares about game. Now, if you messed with his gaming things, he would be upset. But you can literally get him to do anything else, and he just robotically will do it. And she's a little jealous because again, she wants all her things to be shared by people. She doesn't want to do these things alone. So she makes him read this, and he does enjoy it. He does ask for the least dirty one she has. That was
yes.
But I like that she's like, you like Cardcaptor Sakura? It's just like that, but with two boys. I did like. He's like, why would you want to see two boys? She's like, well, why would you want to see cute girls? Point taken.
All right. Point counterpoint.
In the other storyline, everyone's been on vacation, and Narumi hasn't seen Hirotaka the entire vacation because he's like, it's vacation. I'll be in my room playing video games. I will not be out. So she goes to see him on the last day. That's right,
because a brand new game that he's looking forward to came out.
Breath of the Wild.
Actually, this scene was great when she surprise comes over. Like, her inner dialogue getting there was great, but then she walks in and sees him like just a hand on the ground.
She thought he was dead. I love that.
He almost was. He hasn't eaten since Friday.
Well, what was great is she comes in and it's like, the game's on. Hint 1. Nothing in the sink. Hint 2. Him laying on the ground. Hint 3.
So, you hear about people dying because they don't eat or do anything for days because of games, and I've never understood that, but apparently this guy has it. So she throws him in the bath and decides to cook for him, and realizes while she's talking to Hana on the phone, she's never cooked for him. She's never done girlfriend things for him.
This is the first girlfriend thing she's
ever done. And then he comes out of the bathroom buck naked.
Which is funny because it's a complete role reversal, right? Like in most anime, it's usually the girl somehow in some awkward situation ends up nude in front of the guy.
But no one got a nosebleed. No one did a karate kick.
In fact, he didn't even react. He's just like, what?
No. Yeah.
And
Well,
she's
and I
like,
also
put
love
on
the-
pants. Not
Yeah.
while you're wet.
and the whole time Hanako is on the other line and the phone's on speaker, so Taro's listening as well to the entire thing.
I did love how like she's like, hey, I gotta let you go. I'm like burning myself. I'm trying to cook. She's like, no, just put it on speaker. I want to listen to this. This is great.
Narumi.
They end up, after he eats, they end up going to the park. She says she wants a date, but she really is just trying to get him out of the house and move around. They go to the park and they're talking about just random stuff, their relationship and stuff. And there's a line here I really liked where he says, they're talking about stuff they've liked. He's like, we're otaku. What I like doesn't change. And that had such a double meaning because he's loved her since they were children, but also like, I love games. I'll always love games. It doesn't matter what age I become, but it's also saying, I've loved you. I've always loved you. It doesn't matter what changes. I'm going to love you. And I really like that they snuck that line in there. They don't dwell on it. No one gets a big revelation off of that, but I picked that up and I was like, I really like that.
I did too. And then she freaks out because she finds out one of her favorite voice actors is going to be on tape and television.
No, it's not only that. She's already recording it, but she has to watch it live. That's otaku for you.
But she has to watch it with him.
Yeah, but she wants to watch it with him, and she's going to cook for him again.
Well, he goes, are you going to cook for me again? She's like, yes. And he just starts booking it as well.
So he collapses. He's like, I don't have enough energy. I can't make it.
Yeah, go on without me.
She says she wants to watch it with him, and she's going to cook for him again. So he gets up and he bursts, and then he's really slow still, but he's trying so hard. I thought that was really funny. And then the final scene in the anime is everyone's together. They're talking about their first loves. I loved Hirotaka's, I didn't used to be a boob man. I was pure back in the day. That was very funny. And Taro's like, I used to like mature women. And it's like, oh, that's kind of okay. Hanako named a Japanese actress for her first love. And I don't know who Narumi mentioned. But as they're leaving, Now comes in. He hears what they're talking about. He's like, oh, yeah, this was my first love. It was my kindergarten teacher. And he's like, and of course, my brother got to be with his first love. And Narumi doesn't hear it right. Hirotaka turns around and glares at his brother like, don't you ever. And Taro sees the glare and gets so terrified. It's a good way to end.
That was good.
Again, I kind of wish there was a little bit more in our ending, a little bit more closure of knowing that their relationship was stable, or had at least moved forward to being able to kiss without anyone freaking out. But hopefully that if this goes on, and I probably would watch this if it kept going on, but I'm not sure. Anyway, let's go to our final reviews then. If no one else seems to have anything else to add, that's fine. It's fine. Just a podcast that are supposed to talk about the anime we watch.
Wait, what?
Okay, so final reviews. Jason, you picked it. What do you think?
So picking this anime up, I wanted to give it a 2. About halfway through it, I was like, you know what, this is definitely a 3. And unfortunately, and I'm kicking myself, I have to give this a 4. I enjoyed the heck out of this. Again, on paper, this is everything I hate about anime. And the writing was fantastic. The jokes actually made me laugh. And the topics for discussion were extremely relatable, and so were the characters. The character growth wasn't enormous, but it was definitely there. Yeah, solid 4 for me.
Okay, Jeremy, how about you?
I was so bored. Some of the humor was pretty good. I did find myself interested in the characters here and there, and like I said, I would be interested in seeing what happens with Now and Cow, but even as you were describing it, I was having to try to remember the scenes because I just don't remember. It made no impression on me beyond that. So I can't give it very much but I don't have anything that I can complain about either. There was nothing that they did wrong.
Right middle
So
of the road.
So is it more just something that's not your personal taste versus what it was? Yeah.
I think that's all it is. And so I have to give it a 3 because I can't complain about it, but I have nothing superbly positive to say either. Although, this is better than what Tanya said because I had her sit down and watch the half of the second episode. No, it was the half of the first episode. And she's like, does this anime come with a gun? And then she got up and walked away. So I think she'd give it a 1 or a 2.
Not the romantic one though.
No.
So I've told these guys this almost felt like a sitcom and an anime were blended together and some middle ground. The dialogue I felt so relatable to, even when it was in another language. It didn't hit every note. There were some moments where I did feel a little bit of a lull, and I don't know. I'm not going to go start watching romantic comedies now. While this one was good, I'm not going to. This doesn't tell me I like romantic comedy genre. It does tell me though I should be a little bit open minded if something is really good, even if it's outside my normal comfort box. That it's okay to check it out. But the romantic in me was happy with what I watched. I thought the comedy was both very well done and relatable. Like, oh, I would say that hilarious thing. I totally get why someone would say, I bet she pooped today. Be married 17 years. You'll think that once at least. So it's a 4 for me. Yeah. Okay, now very exciting news. We go into the part of the year where we're busy with Christmas, so we don't have time to watch a whole anime over the course of 2 weeks, or we have more time than ever, but we want to play with our toys and games instead.
That's right.
So we are going to watch an anime movie over the next 2 weeks, and then after that, Jeremy and Jason will do their retro picks, where they basically can pick whatever anime they want to watch over 2 weeks. Doesn't matter how old. It could be something they watched a long time ago or always wanted to watch. And we do this at the start of every year. But the movie that we're watching is called Blam, but it is spelled Blame, blame, with an exclamation point, but it's pronounced Blam. It is about a futuristic apocalyptic world where machines took over and they started building layers and layers of machinery on top of the Earth. So now that the Earth is bigger than Jupiter, I believe, and humans now exist in this giant structure trying to survive the robotic monsters that try to slaughter them. And we have one man who's looking for the way to save the planet.
Is this the one that is 6 minutes per episode, 6 episodes turned into a movie by watching all the episodes together, or is it its own movie?
This is a movie on Netflix. It is made by the same studio who did Knights of Sidonia and
so it'll be that awkward 3D.
Yes, it's very much that awkward 3D.
I did like Knights of Sidonia.
What was the one with the immortal guy?
Ajin,
thank you.
Oh yeah.
So it's same look as that, but it is just a movie. There are a couple other movies I considered. If the My Hero Academia movie was out, it would have been that. But
Yeah.
well, okay. So that is what we're watching over the next 2 weeks, and then we'll go into Jeremy and Jason's retro picks after that. Next week we are doing a review mini-sode of season 3 of Overlord. So if you enjoy our Overlord talk, please don't miss that. Otherwise, we want to know your thoughts on the anime that we watched. And is love just hard for otakus, or is love hard for everybody? That's the real question here.
I'm not sure that's what this shows.
I think that's what the truth behind the show was. Anyway, if you have your thoughts, you can reach us on Twitter at Baka Podcast. You can reach us on our email, the animebakaclub@gmail.com, or leave a comment wherever you found this podcast, and they'll get back to us. And we usually answer back as long as we understand what the message was saying.
Yeah.
And it's not about love. No.
Okay. And if you would like to educate Jeremy on the wonders of boy love. All right. Let's say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Sayonara.